With the current schedule Metroid is on, Metroid 6 should be arriving at our doorsteps in 19 years, 3 months, 2 weeks, 5 days, 10 hours and 11 minutes. Well, at least I'm on time then. Hilarious comedy skit aside, I think a more realistic expectation for Metroid 6 is 2026 or 2027. That would leave enough space for Mercury Steam to develop a new title and give Metroid Prime 4 Beyond the opportunity to potentially increase the profile of the Metroid series going into the Switch 2. Meaning that while you're watching this video, there's a pretty big chance work on Metroid 6 is well underway over there in Spain, with Metroid Dread already containing a few breadcrumbs here and there, just like Samus Returns did for Dread back in 2017. Well, like the true YouTuber I am, today I want to zoom in on those breadcrumbs until they look like loaves, and dive into what we already know about Metroid 6 years before it's even close to coming out. Let's begin with the end of Dread, seeing as that's literally the closest point we have to Metroid 6. To just quickly refresh your memory if it's been a while, the game ends with Samus defeating Ravenbeak and effectively becoming a Metroid herself, the last remaining Metroid in the galaxy in fact. While that is definitely an important factor that we will go deeper into later, I first want to zoom in on the other parasite Samus has been dealing with and its current status. I'm talking about the X-parasites of course, introduced in Fusion and unlike the Metroids, still very much a threat in the latest game as well. Now, the big question of course is, will it remain that way? With the destruction of ZDR at the end of Dread, an argument could be made that the X-parasites have gone the way of the Metroids and are extinct. But there is also evidence to suggest that may not be the case. If we rewind the clock a little to the point Samus first traverses Hanubia, we can spot two Mach-in spaceships stationed at a docking port in the background of the lower section of the shipyard. A little while later, when the planet is minutes away from blowing itself to smithereens for unexplained reasons, these ships have mysteriously vanished. Now, there are several explanations to think up as to what has happened here. The most boring one, but not impossible, is that it is an oversight and not intentional. However, I like to believe Mercury Steam wouldn't be that sloppy, so I suspect this is intentional. And if so, the only two explanations that make sense are either that the ships were destroyed during the climax of the game, or that these ships were used as escape routes, possibly by any remaining infected Chozo soldiers. Now, I, as the theorist I am of course a little biased, because one of these options could sprawl a wide array of theories, while the other ends the story right here and now. But I just cannot imagine that the idea behind these disappearing ships was that they were destroyed. If so, you'd make that more clear. You'd have them explode in the background as a set piece, or leave wreckage behind, anything to communicate to the player that is what happened. I genuinely think the possibility of an oversight is bigger than that of the ships being destroyed, and I don't think that is likely either. I'm a believer in the escaping soldiers theory, although that doesn't necessarily have to mean the X-parasites will remain the focus of Metroid 6. After all, I'm currently assuming the escaped parties were infected Chozo soldiers, which is a logical assumption, but an assumption nonetheless. For all we know, it's the mysterious cloaked figure that appears in artwork number 8 of the Chozo archives, whose identity is still a complete mystery. While it is possible the intention is for this to be Ravenbeak, if that's the case, they could have done more to make that obvious. After all, he lacks a recognizable head crest, is way too slim and carries a spear, which we see other members of the Mach-ins do, but not Ravenbeak. If you look really closely and brighten the image a ton, you can see this mysterious figure also has an arm cannon, which makes it almost certain to not be a random soldier. Now, Ravenbeak of course also has a cannon, but for the reasons mentioned earlier, I can't imagine this is supposed to be him. Leaving the question, who is this? Considering the predecessor of the Chozo archives, the Chozo Memories from Samus Returns also contain some strong hints at Metroid Dread, with both Quiet Robe and Ravenbeak first appearing in these images from 2017, it seems completely plausible this image with the cloaked figure hints at a future character from Metroid 6. So that's a potential hint at perhaps a future antagonist or rival, but what does Dread tell us about the future of Samus? Well, first of all, significantly less. And that makes sense. I mean, you can't exactly hint at future events for Samus, as well as you can hint at other characters existing somewhere out in the galaxy. However, Dread's ending marked a significant change for the character, and that she's now the only remaining Metroid in the universe in some strange way, which I can't imagine won't play a role in the next game. It can be kept very simple, by giving her new abilities she can now use due to her Metroid DNA, or it can become a major plot device. After all, you would imagine that the Galactic Federation would at least want something out of Samus now, right? If it isn't research and testing, it's containment for safety purposes, or even using her DNA to construct Metroid bioweapons as they've been known to do. So there are plenty of directions to take this. While none of these can be ruled out or confirmed, there are a few hints here and there that at least affect possibility percentages, I would say. Yoshio Sakamoto, co-creator and series director of Metroid, has said in an appearance on Nintendo Treehouse Live, and I quote, "The relationship between Samus and the Metroids is over. Dread marks the end of the Metroid story, which spanned 5 games in total. And while this of course doesn't mean the series is now over, it does seem to suggest very strongly that we won't see the titular parasites in the 2D titles again. Which would then also suggest that the Galactic Federation producing more Metroids based on Samus' DNA and using them as bioweapons is off the table. I personally think the most likely scenario is for Samus to be put in some sort of temporary containment at the start of the game, possibly linked to having her experiment with her new Metroid-based powers, only for something to then happen and Samus her elite skills to be needed again. That said, during the same treehouse, Sakamoto also said they are changing the way 2D Metroid is made significantly after Dread. Now, this can literally mean a billion things, ranging from mixing 2D and 3D like Other M did, to simply meaning they'll streamline the process so games can come out on a regular basis, so speculation about it is very difficult. However, I think 2 things are for certain at the very least. The game will continue where Dread left off, and Samus isn't going anywhere. Even if I have to my surprise seen some people suggest that is actually what Sakamoto means here. Come on guys, think for a second. You genuinely think they plan on replacing the most iconic image the series has with a random new mercenary? Not in a million years. I think what he's more realistically talking about is the way 2D Metroid builds maps and deals with linearity, i.e. gameplay elements instead of lore and story beats. Another interesting thing to note is that the core idea of Dread has been sitting idly in Sakamoto's head and design plans since the days of the Nintendo DS, when Dread was first conceived. As such, it's very interesting to see where he will take the series next, now that he hopefully has less time to sit on his ideas, while simultaneously also having had a great deal of time to plan ahead for what follows after Dread. I for one can't wait to see what he's cooking. And hey, only 19 years, 3 months, 2 weeks, 5 days, 10 hours and 3 minutes left to go. So, since we have some time to kill, how about you share your premature thoughts on Metroid 6 in the comments below. If you enjoyed my takes, please consider giving the video a like and subscribing to the channel to stay updated on all my future Metroid content coming up. For now, thanks for watching and enjoy the rest of your day.